Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's Sunbelt Conference Media Teleconference. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We'll jump right into it. We are now joined with Shawn, the head coach of App State. If you have a question for Coach Clark, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, would you mind starting us off with an opening statement today?
And competing against ranked team. Again, disappointing, tough loss for our program, but again, very proud of what we did. Our guys went down to win, and we never wavered from that. Had a chance to win then. That's all you can ask for, to play on the road versus one of the perennial powerhouses in college football, and we look forward to moving on to Elon.
Thank you very much, Coach. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. Could you talk a little bit about your special teams play? You had the down moment, and then you came right back and had the up moment.
Yeah, that's something that we really pride ourselves on as special teams here. We spent a lot of time on that during practice. And, again, in order for us to have a chance to win the football game or be in the game, we told our team we had to have a score on special teams or on defense. And we did that, and Jalen Virgil is electric back there. And anytime you have a guy who's world-class speed and runs 10 300-meter dash, you have a chance to win. But, again, very proud of those guys. Again, he gets all the credit, but the blocking was great and gave us a shot in the arm, some momentum, and it really helped us throughout the game.
Could you talk about the performance of Chase Bryce? I know he led the late touchdown drive for you that got you the lead back.
Yeah, I thought Chase played well. I mean, there's things we have to work on, but we're glad he's here. I mean, he did throw a pick, and that was tipped to the line of scrimmage, which was unfortunate. A guy wide open, but again, I thought he managed our team. And Chase is a very talented kid, and he's a great leader in our program. And again, wasn't his best game, but again, that was a very good defense we went against. And you look back at how we moved the ball against Miami, and Alabama had some times. They had Alabama in 3rd and 7, 8 times, and then we were able to move the ball and convert on conversion downs, and that was our goal in a week, and I'm proud of him for that.
You talked about Miami's defense, and your rushing numbers were skewed a little bit because of that 26-yard loss on the punt. Can you talk about your rushing game? Were you happy with it, even though Miami's defense did a pretty good job?
Yeah, and I don't think you're ever happy with I thought we could run the ball better, to be honest with you, but. Again, I thought one of the keys was our offensive line versus their defensive line, and they have a lot of great players there on defense, and we weren't outmanned. I mean, we got knocked back a few times, but again, I thought Cam Peoples hit the hole, and Nate Noel did a great job, and again, a lot of credit goes to the guys up front and the receiver. I thought receivers blocked well, and that sprung a few big runs, and again, never happy, but I have a lot of good things for the future.
How good is it to come home?
Fantastic. I feel like I played at home in a year, but we're really excited to get back here. It's going to be a beautiful day in Boone. We've got a sold-out stadium coming here for Elon, and as we're excited to get back and play our home turf.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Our next questions come from Kyle Keating with Flow Football. Please go ahead, Kyle.
Coach Trisciani from Elon just mentioned, how kind of exciting it is for his guys to be playing an FBS opponent in state, and having been on the other side of that, how can you kind of describe that feeling, being on the hosting end of the FBS program now?
Well, again, I was in the FCS for 7 years. I understand these big games, and again, this Elon game is the biggest game in school history, in my opinion, and it's coming off a tough loss and how we're going to respond. And I think our players, the culture of our program is the next man mentality. It's a faithless opponent, but I have a lot of respect for Tony and his program, the way they've done things. And again, they have great players there. I look at Davis Cheek. I mean, we recruited him here. He's 6'3", 217 pounds, and can really change the game for you. But I understand the magnitude for them, but in all reality, it's the biggest game in the history of App State football this week, and we have to approach it that way.
And when you're game planning for them and all, their secondary has created a lot of turnovers these first 2 games between Omar Rogers and Trayvon Jones. Is there anything that kind of stands out to you about them at all?
No, very similar defense as we run. I mean, they line up the right way. I think anytime you look at a great defense and how they line up and how they react to the ball, but They have a lot of good players on defense. Tristan Cox, he stands out to me there. The Williams kid, number 6. And then you start looking at the secondary, like I said, Cole Coleman as all-conference player in 2020. And they play the game the right way. They have great players. And in today's game, anybody can be anybody. And they're going to make sure they're sound and do things the right way. But we have a work cut out for us. And that's why I told our team last night, this is a team that can come in and beat anybody on any given Saturday. And again, this is a big game for our program this week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. And thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. If everyone can stand by, we'll be back with Coach Chadwell here shortly. Please stand by. Thank you for holding, everybody. We are now joined with Jamey Chadwell, the head coach of Coastal Carolina. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Tremendous Friday night for us in our program and university to host our first Power 5 program. We had set a record for our attendance. And to be able to come out and get a win was just a huge accomplishment for our program and to beat a Power 5 team 3 times in a row. And so I was pleased with a lot of things we did on all 3 phases. Obviously some things we got to clean up, but just a wonderful all-around weekend as we continue here to try to build our program and build the brand that we're about. And now we go forward, obviously, with Buffalo, who is the best team we've seen up to this point. This year. They've got good skilled players, run the ball well, they're physical, and I think they're the best defense that we've seen. They're really good and physical. It's going to be a big challenge going on the road, and one our team will look forward to.
Thank you, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media, it is *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Alan Blondin with the Sun News. Please go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, hey, Coach. So you faced Buffalo's former coach this past week, and obviously going to face a new coach this week. What do you see as a change in their philosophy with their coaching change?
Well, it's only the 2 games that you've seen, but they're still physical. They're tough. They play hard, and so the culture that was left there, coaches came in and continued to build that. They're doing a lot of different things. They've got good coordinators on both sides of the ball. So it's going to be the most physical team that we've played, especially in the box. They're really good up there from a physical standpoint, and, it's going to be a big challenge, and one we'll have to be ready for. He's carried a lot of it on, and they brought their own new little flavor, little mix-ups of, what they like. But they're showing doing a lot of different things similar things, but different than what you saw from the previous staff. So big challenge for us.
Okay, and the two evident potential injuries that we saw were Enoch McConzo and Alex Billum. Or is there a chance either one of those guys will not be able to play this week?
They looked solid through the weekend, through treatments and et cetera. So we're anticipating, as long as there's no hiccups, that they should be ready to go. And they might be limited this week, until we can, get them back hopefully close to 100%. But they seem to be on track to be able to compete this Saturday.
Okay, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alan. Our next questions come from Dan McDonald. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. Grayson had the rare turnover, but other than that, he had almost as many touchdowns as he had incompletions. Where is he better right now than he was a year ago at this time?
Well, I think I would just say he's more comfortable with everything we're doing. We're doing a little bit more stuff than we did last year because you sort of spoon-fed some of the things that you wanted to do, and I would say the whole playbook now is open, and he's mastered that, and so you feel like you can do some things and put him in some situations to where he's got a chance to go out and make the plays he's capable of, and I would say that just his overall knowledge and understanding of what we're trying to do. He's seen a lot of defenses now. This was game 14 for him, so he's getting more and more experience, or 13, I should say, more and more experience. And so I think he's seeing more things and just getting comfortable with everything that we're doing. And so he's improved tremendously with that aspect of his game.
How gratifying was it to see your team after Kansas came back and made a little push at you? You sort of took control in the second quarter.
Yeah, I thought they pushed at us. We'd got control, and then in the third quarter, they scored right before halftime, and then they came out and stopped us, and right there at 11 minutes to go, it was 28-22, and then we scored 21 straight points there. So I thought from a character standpoint, we showed what we were about there. We didn't panic. We had, you had all the emotion of the first half and feeling like you're in a good situation, and they came out and answered you, and that could have went the other way, but our guys, found a way to finish the game, and that was important. So I was pleased to see some adversity we faced and see us come through it.
I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I read a National College Football Outlet this morning that said that this week's game with Buffalo, if y'all get by this one, you should run the table. I know that's how do you keep your guys grounded? Because that kind of thing is going to increase the more success you have.
Well, then I don't think people know how good the Sun Belt Conference is. So I would say that first and foremost. It's very hard in this league with as good as coaches and good teams, and you see how they're playing right now and what the Sun Belt's doing in the games that we're playing now. So we've obviously got to take it one at a time, and if we're fortunate to get through this one, then we got another one out of conference, and then you're in the thick of your Sun Belt. And so it's going to take a special season for anybody in this league to try to run through it unscathed, and that's how good it is this year.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. That's all the questions we have for you today. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. If everyone would stand by, we'll be back with Coach Wommack here shortly. Please stand by. Oh, and Coach is with us now. So if you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, glad to have another win on Saturday against Bowling Green. First road trip of the season, which was just a different dynamic and a different scenario for our guys, and it's the first time we've ever done that. So just learning together and growing together. Thought we had a tremendous week of practice. But what we've got to be focused on is at the beginning of a game, the things that we do on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday have to show up on Saturday. And didn't think that we did that early on, but we talk all the time in this program about having a neutral mindset, regardless of success or adversity, just doing your job over and over and over again. And really things, we had a lot of adversity early on in the game. We talk about Murphy's Law, right? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And Murphy showed up a lot in the game, but our guys, it was so fun to see our culture being shaped and formed between our players and our coaches, and the way that we were able to just stay focused and locked in throughout a game. And we played smart football. It wasn't pretty all the time, but we played smart football. And found a way to win in the end, and that was very rewarding as a team.
Thank you very much, Coach. As a reminder to members of the media to *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. What did you tell Diego before he ran out on the field?
Well, I didn't tell him anything. You know what? I tell you, between Travis Drosos, our snapper, and Jack Brooks, our holder, who's also our punter, and Diego, those guys have worked so hard this off season together to make sure that they're on point for that moment. And they were prepared. They'd gotten them, hundreds of reps at it, and they executed a high level in practice every day. And so I don't think there was anybody on that sideline that had a doubt that we were going to go win that football game with Diego.
Your playmakers have gotten a lot of, notoriety over the first couple of weeks, but can you talk about your defense? You held them, I think, to 9 yards officially rushing, and then you got the fumble recovery at the end that enabled you to, to go ahead and get a chance at the winning field goal.
Well, I again, the Swarm D mentality that we carry here defensively is that 11 bodies, regardless whether it's run or pass, the responsibility of stopping the offense is placed on all 11 members of the Swarm D. And our safeties, our post safeties have bought into that if it's a run handed off up the middle, it's not just the defensive line who is actually playing dominant right now up front, but it's not just the defensive line's job to stop the run or the linebackers. It's the post safety's job and the corner's job. If there's a ball thrown 18 yards downfield or 40 yards downfield, it's a defensive lineman's job to turn and sprint and get to the ball. And that relentless pursuit that we have as a Swarm D right now continues to show itself up in the way we're playing. So tremendous job by Corey Batoon and the rest of our defensive staff. Our players are leaning into our scheme. They're leaning into our culture, and they're getting rewarded on game day right now. And our best football is ahead of us, not just defensively, but as an entire team.
Was your pass rush what you had hoped, or can you just give Bowling Green some credit for being able to, move the ball a little bit in the air?
Yeah, I thought from a pass rush standpoint, obviously we're doing some really good things, and we had some critical third downs that we were able to create negative plays and sacks. I think we had 3 sacks in the game this week and another 3 or 4 last week. So we're creating consistent pressure on the quarterback. We're also executing at a high level on third downs right now, being one of the top 10s in the teams in the country right now on third down efficiency from a defensive perspective. But what we didn't do a good enough job of is this defense has been so focused on limiting explosive plays. And we created more explosive plays offensively than what they were able to create against us, but that's still not the standard of this offense and this defense. We should have created more explosive plays offensively, and certainly just eye progression and doing the right thing over and over and over again. We got exposed on some things that we're going to have to make sure we get cleaned up because, college football is a copycat league. And when you put something on film early in the season, you're going to see that same stuff on film over and over and over again until you prove you can stop it. And then once you've stopped it, you're going to see it one more time. So when you put things early on film, everybody's going to have an urgency to get it corrected.
Your team's going to be heavily favored this weekend, and then you get the week off. Does the schedule, before you start Sunbelt, does the schedule fall pretty good for you in your opinion?
Well, I like, I think it's great to challenge yourself against non-conference opponents. I don't know what necessarily is the right-wrong answer in terms of when you want to play your first conference game. The positive thing of playing conference games early is that you get a chance to kind of see where you are in relation to the league. But you also get tested from other conferences when you're playing non-conference games. So I like our schedule. I like that we're playing 3 games. We get a chance to go work on ourselves after those 3 games as well, with a bye week leading into to playing Lafayette, Louisiana right afterwards. And so for us as a young team in the first year of our program, I think it actually behooves us to have an early bye week. So that we can kind of refocus ourselves and say, okay, here's what we did well over the first 3 weeks. Here's what we need to improve on moving into conference play.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. If everyone stand by, we'll place everyone on a brief hold. We'll be back with Jake Spavital of Texas State here shortly. Please stand by. And thank you for holding, everybody. We are now joined with Jake Spavital, the head coach of Texas State. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with a opening statement?
Yeah, good road win for our program, our university. Played a very talented FIU team. With a long travel and a lot of distractions, thought we handled it well, and we ended up coming out with a good victory. I thought our offense was played okay. I thought we had our times where we moved the ball efficiently, but I think the inconsistency still remains on offense right now. You took a look at the defense. I think the defense is playing at a high level. Had 3 turnovers, and and ended up, having some critical stops in the fourth quarter to keep FIU out of field goal range, and end up managing the clock the right way and taking it into overtime and having a walk-off win. But what came down to that game was, the 3 turnovers that the defense had, and the offense actually had great momentum, and they complemented off of those turnovers, had 14 points, and also the red zone scoring was very efficient for us. So, still got a lot of improvement on our critical downs on, getting off the field, staying on the field from the offense and defense perspective, and our yards per play needs to increase, which goes down to consistency. But, overall, just very, very happy for our program. Just these kids fight every single week, and then I think they've got a reputation of giving everything they got and leaving everything they have on the field. And it was just a surreal moment for those guys to actually finish the game. They had a lot of gut-wrenching losses last year, a lot of, those close losses. And, the emphasis was when we get in these moments this year, we got to be able to finish games. And I think they finally pulled one together and played together as a team and finished the game off the right way and got a win. And it's always a good feeling, always better to be, getting back on that plane after a win rather than a loss. So happy for these kids, ready to get on to Incarnate Word, quality opponent coming in. Predicted to win the Southland FCS. You guys see in college football today that FCS teams are upsetting a lot of teams lately, and it's going to be a good challenge for us. But it'll be back here in San Marcos, and I think our kids are excited to get out there and play in front of the home crowd on Saturday. So, questions?
Thank you, Coach. As a reminder for our members of the media, that's star 1 to get into queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You touched on the fact that your team, they were in the situation you were in the fourth quarter several times last year, and it seems like always, if anything could go wrong, it did go wrong. How gratifying was it to see you got the touchdown early in the fourth quarter, you held them scoreless the rest of the way, and then you got the big defensive play?
Yeah, I just was proud that we finished the game finally. That's what we kept talking about, that we are our own worst enemies, and in those previous games that we were talking about where there were close losses, and the kids had belief. They were very optimistic that we could win that game, and the defense rose to the occasion and kept them out of field goal position. You talked about the first drive of the fourth quarter, which came after a turnover, and which was a great drive on the offense's part to actually tie the game up right there, and then the defense played extremely well in that fourth quarter and just got to a point where we can manage it to get to overtime, because we were in terrible field position that whole fourth quarter, and the defense did a really good job at keeping them out of field goal range. And you get into overtime and you get to a third down, and we finally got a guy that could pass rush. Last year we lacked that, and Isaiah Nixon did an unbelievable job getting to the QB and forcing a fumble, and the offense capitalized off of that and scored 2 plays. So we finally played some complimentary football, and we finally finished the game. So I'm just happy that these kids ended up getting a win, because we put a lot of effort and work into this, and it just was fun to see them celebrate in the locker room after a good win.
How big were those turnovers? Because it looked like there were stretches that FIU was able to move the ball pretty well.
Yeah, the turnovers were good, big time. One of them happened, inside the 5-yard line, which was big. That was probably the key to the game. I know was the turnovers that the defense got, because they all happened, early on our side of the ball. So yeah, the thing that we always talk about with turnovers is what are you going to do with them? Turnover margin can be skewed in a lot of different ways. Like the real, coaching point to it is how can you capitalize off the momentum? If the defense gets the turnover, go score. And we did that. We had 14 points off of those turnovers, and just really proud of how the defense played, and just proud of how the offense, when we were struggling at times, we at least elevated our play in terms of momentum swing when we got the ball back.
You mentioned you're playing an FCS team this week. A lot of the FCS teams in the leagues played the spring schedule this past spring. How much of an impact do you think that has had possibly on some of those programs, having some success against FBS teams early this year?
Yeah, I think just, every team has different circumstances, but that spring season for FCS allowed them to get a lot of quality reps in. It wasn't like they played a ton of games, But we're playing Incarnate Word, and they got 6 games in the spring, which is going to be that's like the equivalent to their spring football. So they at least got to figure out what type of team they were, and then got into the transfer portal and kind of fixed their immediate needs going into a fall season. So very unique. I see it across the entire country, and I know you guys do too. Just how well these FCS teams are right now. Like everybody seems to be struggling with them. There was 3 really close games with FCS teams this past weekend. And even Jacksonville State beat Florida State. So I think the spring season and then allowing them to hit the transfer portal to fix some immediate needs and build off their class has really helped the FCS programs this year.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. And we'll keep moving right along. We are now joined with Chad Lunsford, the head coach of Georgia Southern. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, no problem. Thank y'all. Kind of coming off a tough one. Our football team's a little embarrassed about how we played last week. We started the game well, got in a position to go up 13-0, fumbled the ball and lost momentum, and never gained it back. And FAU did a good job of really getting after us last part of the first half, and then obviously in the second half. We did not handle adversity well, and we got to go back to work, got to do better. Got a huge challenge this week as we take on an SEC opponent in Arkansas over at their place. So the challenge is to go play real Georgia Southern football this week and see if we can get better.
Thank you, Coach. As a reminder to our members of media that jumped on here to *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Bob Holt with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Please go ahead, Bob.
Thanks. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Doing good.
I know you, Justin Tama, is supposed to start this week. He's obviously got some starting experience. How's he doing, and how big is it to get him back? What will that mean for your team?
Justin's done a really good job of staying engaged. The first 2 weeks being ineligible, he's spent most of his time over on scout team trying to help our defense, and has accepted that role really well and done a good job. But I think this off season he's prepared himself to be the starter, and I thought through training camp he really stepped up and really helped our offense. So I think it'll be good to get him back. I do think he brings maybe a different energy, and obviously having a little bit of experience helps. So looking forward to having Justin back.
I read that he started at Minnesota and played extensively at LSU. Obviously those are programs, Power 5 programs like Arkansas. How much do you think that experience could help him for this game?
Well, I definitely think that helps. LSU was definitely a buzzsaw that year. That was their national championship year, and our starter got knocked out of the game, and he went in, and obviously the environment and playing against an SEC team, obviously having that experience definitely should help him. He shouldn't be surprised. I did think he handled playing up at Minnesota well. Did turn the ball over, which hurt him, but again, he was young in that. And I think he's continued to get better as he's come along. But I do think those experiences will help him. I don't think the stage will be too big.
Arkansas obviously had a huge win over Texas. What do you? I don't know how much film you've been able to watch yet, but what are your thoughts on Arkansas? And obviously, that's a tough opponent to try to bounce back against. I would.
Yeah, no question. Watching them against Texas, it looked like a very physical game. It looked like Arkansas was really fired up for that game. Big and physical up front. Did a really good job of controlling the line of scrimmage. And then played lights out on defense as well. Definitely looked like an SEC football team, and great athletes everywhere. And just a good mix of what they do on offense with run and pass. And then, just being very sound on defense as well. It's definitely a huge challenge for us. Talent talent level. We're definitely not going to be able to match that. So we're definitely going to have to go play hard and play fast and, and see what we can do to try to hang in there with them.
One more question about Justin. Just what does he bring to the table skill set wise? And I guess how anxious do you think he is to play, having to miss those first 2 games?
I think he's very anxious. I think he wants to get out there and he wants to help his team. I think what he does bring is, even though it is limited experience, he has started games here. Also being able to be in, around Coach Roos, as the offensive coordinator the last 3 games last year, going through spring ball with Coach Roos, and then, and obviously preparing himself to be the starter. I think him having college experience as a college quarterback and familiarity with the offense just brings another element for him. And I expect him to come in and really give us a good charge for our offense.
Hey, thanks, Coach. Appreciate you.
Yep, no problem.
All right, thank you, Bob. Our next questions come from Nathan with the Savannah Morning News. Please go ahead, Nathan.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
Good, Nathan. How are you today?
Thanks. I just want to be clear. Are you saying that Justin Tomlin is the starter, or is that something that's still going to be worked out?
Justin Tomlin will be the starter.
Okay. And what is the health situation on the team, specifically with Cam and anybody else that is a starter?
I think Cam's going to be fine. He had a little bit of a ankle injury in the game, and I will say this: Cam's a tough dude. He came back in the game, and he's kind of swollen on that ankle, and was pretty swollen yesterday. Tough dude, came back in and played. Probably didn't play as well as he wanted. Probably has a little bit to do with the injury, but I did think he showed toughness and that he definitely can be a guy. Overall, I think we're fairly healthy. Derek Canteen went out of the game. We're getting him checked out today. Possible chest, pec injury type thing. Don't know the extent of that. Obviously, we all know about Todd Bradley, losing him beforehand, but then Marcus Watson Trent, he ended up with his MRI results last week. He tore his ACL, so he will be out for the year. Losing Todd and Mar at linebacker were big blows to us. However, I do like our guys that we have. I think we're talented, just not as much as experience as we've had in the past at linebacker. But other than that, I think we're fairly healthy. Kind of looking forward to seeing what JD looks like this week, see if he'll be ready to go. I'm not sure he will be, but I know he's coming along fairly good, and just kind of want to see where he's at this week and see if he'll have a chance to play for us.
Okay. Thank you, Coach, for answering that. Who is the linebacker who's stepping in now in place of Todd and Mr. Watson? Yeah.
Well, Trey Allen, Kevon Glenn, Kadri Jackson, John Ferguson, and then we got 2 rookies in true freshmen in Mike Edwards and Eldrick Robinson, who that we're starting to kind of bring along as well. But the main ones are going to be Trey Allen, Kadri Jackson, Kevon Glenn, and John Ferguson.
Okay. Thank you very much, Coach.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Coach, and thank you, Nathan. If everyone could stand by, we'll be back with Butch Jones of Arkansas State here very shortly, so please stand by. All right, Coach Jones is with us now. If you have a question for Coach Jones, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Well, first of all, very proud of our players. I thought, we talked about being relentless and a competitive spirit. I thought, from a relentless standpoint, from a competitive standpoint, we competed right to the end of the game. But, did not do the things that you need to do to win football games, did not play winning football. It's just amazing. You look at it, win the time of possession by over 10 minutes, run 28 more plays than our opponent, win the turnover margin 2-0, and still lose the football game. And I think it all comes down to explosive plays. We gave up way too many explosive plays, didn't make them drive the football. I thought we have to get much better in special teams, but again, very proud of our players and had an opportunity to win the game at the end of the game. And that's kind of was the thing that we talked about, was getting the game in the fourth quarter, but came up short. But again, this is another week, a great challenge going on the road at Washington, a very hungry football team. Now our players have to learn what it is to go prepare to play on the road in a hostile environment. So it'll be another big challenge for us in moving forward.
Thank you, Coach. Just a reminder, our media is *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Luke Matheson with Red Wolf Report. Please go ahead, Luke.
Morning, Coach. How are you?
Hey, Luke.
So last week I asked you about quarterbacks. I'll start with that again, and I kind of chuckled. 2 weeks ago you started James Blackman, and then Lane Hatcher came in and kind of provided a spark. Saturday it was the exact opposite. You started Lane Hatcher, and then James came in and provided a spark and really helped you guys move the football.
Well, I was really proud of James, and again, we're fortunate to have both Lane and James, and, they're both very good quarterbacks, and it was just, a gut feeling at the time. Felt that our team needed a spark. Some of the things that they were doing defensively, I think, required some of James' skill sets as well, as being able to push the ball down the field. So, to James' credit, just like Lane's credit last week, he was ready to go and answer the call and did provide the spark, created some big play opportunities for us. And then our receivers did a good job, obviously, of making plays. And, I think the other thing within James' performance was, he was able this week to get back in the pocket and set his feet. He had a clean pocket. So, again, can't speak enough about James and him being ready to go. And, just like last week, Lane did some good things as well early on in the game. So, again, we're very fortunate to have both those individuals in our program.
Obviously, I know that you wanted to get that comeback, and like you said, you had a chance at the end, literally came down to the last play of the game. But, what were some of the things that you took away from the game that you liked, but also some of the things, okay, we've got to work on this if we're going to be a good team moving forward?
Sure. Well, from a positive standpoint, like I stated earlier, just, the competitiveness. Our players competed. They hurt after the game. And, that's a direct correlation to your investment in winning. And, winning has no loyalties. You have to earn winning every single time. And, before you can ever win a game, you have to not lose the game. And we made way too many mistakes. Right now, we lack attention to detail. We don't have the focus and the intensity for 60 minutes as a football team that we need. And I think the big thing is just, a consistent basis. And, when you look at it, it's one thing to look at it, but you got to know why it happened and what the players are thinking. And we're very close from executing in all three phases. But, it's everyone has 1 out of 11 in doing their part. And right now there's 8 individuals. There's 9 individuals doing their jobs. And we always talk about one wrong, all wrong. And, we got to get those other 2, 3 individuals. And it's all different individuals. It's not one particular individual. And that's why it's a great team game and a team sport, is all individuals have to be working as one. So I just think, the focus, the attention to detail, that's the biggest thing with this team, the fundamentals, all those things that go into playing winning football. That's critical as we continue to move forward.
You alluded to it in your opening statement, going to Washington this week, first game on the road. You're going to play a team that is looking for their first win. What are you expecting from them, but also what are some of the things that you've seen on film that you feel can help you guys be successful against them?
Well, I think there's first of all, there's a lot of things. It's another new step in this football team. And, to be quite frank with you, we have not done a great job of, kind of handling unknowns right from, the first day of workouts when we came here to the first day of spring ball to the first day of training camp to our first game of the first half. It's almost like we got to look around and be comfortable, and then all of a sudden say, hey, we're going to be okay, and then we're able to function. So this is something new. Not only is it a road game, but an unfamiliar environment across the country, time change, everything that goes into it, and then the elements, forecast of rain and 60 degrees and all those things that are really uncontrollable factors. So we have to focus on the task at hand. But, this is a really good football team. I think the thing that's lost in the storyline is they've played two really, really good football teams. And, everyone looks at Montana. Well, Montana has been around for a long time, and Bobby does a great job with that program, and I know a lot about that program. And then obviously going on the road at Michigan. So they've played two very good football teams. They're going to be back at home. We know they're going to have to try to create some momentum and some energy, whether it's in the kicking game, big splash plays on offense, getting after it on defense. And, this is a Pac-12 team that's, some people predicted a win in their conference. And they're very skilled. They're very talented. They're very big. So it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Final question for you. You was finally able to get Lincoln Perry in Saturday, and it looked like he gave you some good plays and was able to move the football for you there in the running game. What are your thoughts on him?
Yes, you know what? I appreciate you bringing that up because was really, really excited for Lincoln and proud of him because he did. He provided spark for us. And, that was one of the things after the first game we said as a staff, we got to get him in the game and get him involved early. And Lincoln's one of those individuals that plays exceptionally hard, is very quick, downhill type running back, hits the hole, and he did. He provided a spark for us. Also did a good job in terms of the passing game as well and his involvement in terms of the pass game. So we're going to need more of that, more of his energy, more of his competitiveness because it really does rub off on the entire team.
All right. Thank you, Coach, and thank you, Luke. That's all the time we have for you today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great week.
You as well, sir. And we'll continue right along. We're now joined with Terry Bowden, the head coach of ULM. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with that opening statement?
Well, we've been off this past week. We were off, and, of course, this week we go into Jackson State, or they come to our place for our home opener, and this is not the Jackson State of old. It's the Coach Sanders version of Jackson State, and so we've got a huge, big game for us. So we prepared, had a good off week, but we got 3 good days in before the players got the weekend off. And we'll start this week and really prepare hard for a very, very good undefeated 2-0 Jackson State team.
Thank you, Coach. Just a reminder to our members of the media, it's *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. The old cliche is that teams get better between their first and their second games. How big was it for you to have that week the way it fell for you as far as the open week? And where do you think your team's gotten better?
Yeah. Well, we'll know how important and how good it was when we played Jackson State from the first game, and so I don't know that we've made some changes. We've got a couple of backups that have moved into starting positions. Just trying to refine which is the best 11 on offense and defense to put in the game, and that's the biggest thing. We had to fix. We've had to fix some things on the back end of our defense. Gave up some big plays, but Kentucky had a lot to do with that. That great transfer from Penn State had the big arm, and we tried to stop the running game, which we did. They're one of the better running teams. So I'd say the back four of the defense, and then in establishing the offense, we just were overpowered. And so still, I think we need to come and play somebody more like us to get a good idea. Kentucky was just a little too good for us.
Coach, there have been a lot of FCS teams that have done well, against the FBS teams this year. So far, Jacksonville State beating Florida State. Nichols almost got Louisiana on Saturday. How much of a factor do you think that, I know Jackson State was able to play 7 games in the spring. How much of a factor is that early in the season?
I think it's a big factor. Look at the way Jacksonville State played, and of course we're playing Jackson State. They had 6 games in the spring, and they're 2-0, and have beaten a very, very good Florida A&M team in their opening classic, and then in their second classic beat Jackson State. I think it does give you a lot of time to answer questions, much more than just a spring football practice with 15 days of work in. So, it is what it is. It's past us now, but I think that was a real strength for teams to find out exactly where they stood, so that when they started the preseason for the fall, they pretty much had a lot of their questions answered.
I know you had the chance to go through preseason and summer and so forth, but how important was it for Rhett Rodriguez to have this open date after that first game to get more familiar, more comfortable with your offense?
Well, Rhett, Rhett, he knows the offense. I mean, he grew up with this offense, so I don't know that he's going to be a lot different in the offense. We have to be able to execute better against than we did against Kentucky. They dominated our front. I mentioned we had 13 first down attempts in the first half. We made 2 yards or less on 12 of those. That's not a lot of what Rhett is doing. So, again, Rhett needs to do a great job of managing our offense. His skill is just knowing the offense, how to run the offense, and putting the ball in the right hands, getting the right play called, and transition. I think the Kentucky game was more about a talent level and the inability of us to do anything well on first down. That very much limited what we can do on second and third. So, Rhett knows the offense. I don't think that's the barrier because he's been with his dad. He's done it all his life.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All righty.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. That is all the time we have for you today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are now joined with Billy Napier, the head coach of Louisiana. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with a opening statement?
Great day in Lafayette, Louisiana at Cajun Field. 25,000 plus. Really outstanding experience and venue. Really appreciative and thankful for our fans coming out, and certainly the biggest student push we've probably had since we've been here. But just overall, really electric environment. We're certainly thankful for all the work that went into that by our administration, and we really appreciate the community coming out and supporting our team. Hats off to Nichols and Coach Rebo. They've got a really good football team. They played hard in the game and certainly did some things that created issues for us. But in general, they've got really good offensive skill, the quarterback, the receiver, and certainly on defense. They've got some secondary players that I think can probably play in our league. So in general, great to get a win in the home opener. Lots of areas on our team where we can improve. We did take some steps forward in certain areas, and really excited about some of the things I saw. But we also have areas where we need to continue to improve here. So, a little bit more detail in our play and our execution. We need to get our veteran players to play their best football. And a lot of these rookie and inexperienced players have got to continue to develop and really live and learn from actually going out there and playing in the game and learning how to prepare each week in practice. So, we're a work in progress, much like we've been in the past this time of year, as most teams are. We are focused on improvement and really coming up with good plans and solutions to get just that. So with that being said, what questions do we have here?
Thank you, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media to star one to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. You're going to see some, talented quarterbacks, some very mobile quarterbacks pretty much all season long. You've certainly seen a couple the first couple of weeks. How is that an area of concern for you, or is that an area that one of the things that you said you needed to improve on?
Well, I think a lot of the credit goes to the quarterback for Nichols. I mean, that guy's, I don't know if you were watching, but that guy's a heck of a football player. Not only does that guy have arm talent, but he processes well, he anticipates, he's very accurate, and he's got arm talent. He can throw it all over the park. So when you combine that with their skill and the ability for him to escape, extend, and ultimately take off running, he's going to be a handful for everybody he plays the rest of the way. So hats off to him, and certainly they had a good plan. But I do think that there are some things that we can do a little better there. We certainly will plan accordingly. But in general, tough combination there. There's a reason why that guy was a highly rated quarterback coming out of high school and signed with LSU.
A lot of FCS teams are having a lot of success early in the year. Jacksonville State getting Florida State. How much of a factor do you think that Nichols had a chance to play 7 games in the spring, and several other leagues were able to do that? How much of a factor do you think that is early in the year when FCS teams are playing FBS teams?
No, I think it's a good point. I think it's a really good question and something to think about. There's no question that you're a lot further along with your team as a result of that. There's less of a gap. And certainly for them, they've got their entire team back from that spring season to go along with maybe even a few additions. So in general, I think it's a good point and something that, you're seeing. Montana beat Washington, Jacksonville State beat Florida State, Southeastern played La Tech tight. Those are just a couple of examples off the top of my head here. But, no, Nichols played really well, and they certainly have enough to give you some issues.
You did have one big defensive play by Chris Moncrief. Can you talk about how that play sort of turned things for you?
Well, there's no doubt it was a critical point in the game and certainly gave us some momentum there and kind of, made it a 2-score game. We did a really good job on that play in particular with the rush lanes, executing the plan. We affected the quarterback and, forced the guy to maybe make a little bit of a decision that he'd like to have back. Chris did a good job covering his man. He was in position, made the play. And certainly we executed after the interception there on the return. So big play. Chris is an old high school running back in the day, old wing T running back, and certainly looked like one after the interception there.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
All right.
All right, and we are now joined with Chip Lindsey, the head coach of Troy. If you have a question for Coach Lindsey, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Okay, Saturday obviously had a big-time game here at home. Great crowd, great atmosphere. That was good to see. It was a 4-quarter game, which we knew it would be, and really proud of the way our guys battled all night long against a good football team. Loved the way we started, got off to a great start on offense, went down and scored on the first drive, had a good second drive as well, but kind of the next 4 or 5 series kind of stalled out, and got to give them credit. They did a good job on defense, and then obviously made a run there at the end offensively. Defensively, overall, very pleased with how our guys played. Played against a really good quarterback, probably one of the best in the country, Malik Willis, and did a pretty nice job after we got adjusted to the speed of the game of tackling him in space and and defending them. But really pleased with the effort. Special teams wise, I thought, we had another extra point block, so that was discouraging there. But overall, pleased with how we punted and kicked off and covered. So, we came up a little short. It was a game that really was a good opportunity for us to play a quality football team out of conference. And, we missed an opportunity there to get a big shot in the arm. But, again, I'm really proud of our guys. I thought we played extremely hard and just not clean enough to, at times, really kind of sloppy on both sides. Liberty, and same way. I talked to their coach. We both felt like we both played hard, but got lots to clean up and get better as we move throughout the season. And now we move forward to Southern Miss on the road, which will be another big test for us. Questions?
Thank you very much, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media, it's *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. You mentioned Willis as the quarterback for Liberty, but can you talk a little bit about Taylor Powell's performance? I guess except for the one pick, his numbers were pretty good.
Yeah, I thought Taylor played well, man. Did a great job running our offense and, managing the game extremely well. Thought he made some big-time throws, inside the pocket. And really, I thought Liberty's front did a good job of getting after him some, too. He sat in there and read the thing out. So the one throw was just he left the throw inside a little bit on the interception. I know we'd like to have that one back, but overall, he's continuing to play well and really gave us a chance to win the game there at the end.
Are you concerned about your running game, or do you just give credit to Liberty's defense?
No, I'm concerned for sure. Really disappointed we didn't run the ball better. I mean, their front was good front, don't get me wrong, but, early on we ran the ball fine, and as the game went on, we were unable to maintain our blocks, or we ID'd it wrong, or we had some issues there, and that's something that we've got to get fixed and get better at for us to be the team that we want to be and we're capable of being. We got to be able to run the ball better. We got good backs. We got good old linemen, but we got to learn to maintain blocks and really just do a better job. We didn't. The game flew by. I think you and Liberty, those guys decided they were gonna take their time and snap the ball low on the play clock, which is fine. So it made each possession of ours even more and more important. And to maintain possessions, we got to do a better job of running the football for sure.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you see teams that are going to do that on the play clock, are going to run it down and sort of shorten the game on you, since you do like to play at a lot better, a lot higher tempo?
Well, I think you expect that some when you play, the Georgia Southerns, triple options of the world, or those kind of guys. But that was the first time. It was a little unexpected coming from Liberty. And talking with you, that was kind of their plan, was to limit our snaps, and they did a nice job of that. At the same time, again, it comes down to being able to convert on third downs. I think we were 4 of 11, and that's not good enough, and therefore we had to punt too many times. So it was a good job on their part. At the same time, we got to play cleaner on offense to keep that from being a factor.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. If everyone could stand by, we'll be back with Shawn Elliott of Georgia State here shortly, so please stand by. Thank you for holding, everybody. We're now joined with Shawn Elliott, the head coach of Georgia State. If you have a question for Coach Elliott, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Sure. Good afternoon. We got to play about 3.5 quarters of real football this past Saturday before kind of giving way to North Carolina Tar Heels and let them explode for some points there at the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Some really positive things came out of it, I think. I think our lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball played pretty consistent and well for the most part, and held their own, which I thought was a talented group for the Tar Heels on both sides of the ball, but I thought we really managed to kind of handle the line of scrimmage, and that was pleasing. That's where it's got to be important for us on both sides to control the line of scrimmage. And moving forward with the the people that we're going to face in conference and of course Charlotte this week, we feel like we've made some strides there. So that was a positive thing. Very disappointed in the loss, very disappointed in some of the effort and some of the assignments that we had that kind of went awry there late. But for the most part, our guys fought and came up with an L, which is certainly a disappointing feat. We're sitting here 0-2. We're not feeling very good about ourselves right now, rightfully so. We've got some things we've got to work on. We've got some things that we need to change. We've got some people we need to change. And we're going to try to get all that accomplished during this week and get ready for a good Charlotte team that's coming in here they've got an ACC win over Duke, and then they just beat Gardner-Webb this past weekend. Coached by Coach Healy. Coach Healy's the hottest coach in college football. He's, you always hear of his name coming up for all these jobs and how well he's done there at Charlotte. And, he's put together a great staff and a great team. And we look forward to the challenge of them coming down here and playing 7:00 Saturday night. So we just, we gotta handle ourselves first and foremost. So.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Stan Autry with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Please go ahead, Stan.
Hey, Shawn.
Hey.
You mentioned after the game that some of the guys were playing like fat cats. There were some front runners in the room. Was there any sign of that happening, and what do you do to get their attention and change the mentality?
Well, I think, yeah, there's some signs of that happening. Here we are sitting 0-2, and we haven't played very well. And there's some positions that need to play much better. There was, what I thought some high opinions that they had of themselves. And, it's not rightfully so. You are exactly what your record are and what your performance shows, and that's just not who we are. We're a blue-collar team. We need to work hard. We need to understand exactly who we are as athletes, who we are as coaches, and try to understand we're going to have to go and fight and claw and scratch for everything that we get. And I just felt like there was, too many people being really comfortable.
Does that mean there's more, maybe an open competition for playing time this week and going forward?
I think you're exactly right. I think there's some situations where, we've got to, in order to do different things, you got to have different people doing them. So we're gonna mix and match some things up, change some things around. The best players still will play, of course, but we're going to certainly have some competition battles and just see if we can get a spark going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
I certainly do appreciate your time. Appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you. And that will conclude this week's teleconference. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us. A copy of this will be posted on sunbeltsports.org later today. And if we can provide any assistance, please feel free to reach out to the Sunbelt Conference office. Thank you again for joining us. We hope everyone has a safe week who was on the road traveling. And thank you again for joining us.